future. Wouldn't it be neat if we all could pick our own nebulous names like that? You can think about that while we ring the opening bell. Uh-oh. Going to try different things. All right. Savannah, maybe you're closest. Let's see. Imaginary Future's real name is Jesse Epstein, or maybe that's his given name. His real name is Imaginary Future. Thanks to Alison for providing that suggestion for our prelude. Very appropriate. And right on cue, we have the sun, even though there was snow on the ground this morning. Spring will come. It'll get warmer. We just have to be patient. So that song is appropriate for today's service, which is on unlocking. This was suggested by the curriculum that we get from the UUA called Soul Matters. We've done some other programs. Try to do one a month from that Soul Matters curriculum because we pay good money for it. We might as well use it. So unlocking is the name of one of 6 seasons that Kurt Vonnegut has proposed. He really liked this idea because I see it appearing in at least a couple of his books. That season is the months of March and April. It's the season between winter and spring. Winter he defines as January and February, and spring, of course, May and June. And it's for people who live up north like we do. We don't fit into the regular 4 seasons. He lived in Schenectady, New York for a while. It's about the same latitude as Madison, so he's familiar with this change of seasons coming late up here. So this month's theme, again, I'll remind you, is embracing possibility. That's part of the transformational value, all these values that the UUA has surrounding the core value of love. So here's the order of service. I'm going to have some opening words, and then the chalice lighting, and then you can read it. This service is by Alison and me. I get to do the easy part, the first part, and Alison will do the second part, which will be like a forum, like we used to do with Paula Lugar. So be prepared for audience participation, okay? All right, this might be a little bit wild, but I saw this season of unlocking as March and April and reminded me of this poem by T.S. Eliot called The Wasteland. Show of hands, heard of that? It's been called the pinnacle of poetry, modern poetry, at least in the 20th century. So let's just read this is just the first, what is it, 7 lines? 7 lines of this very long poem. April is the cruelest month, breeding lilacs out of the dead land, mixing memory and desire, stirring dull roots with spring rain. Winter kept us warm, covering earth in forgetful snow, feeding a little life with dried tubers. I didn't study poetry in college. didn't study this poem in particular, but I did know that famous line, April is the cruelest month, and I never understood that. So I thought we would take this time to clear that up in my mind, okay? So when I don't understand something, I try to figure it out on my own, like a math problem. And if I need some help, I will get help. So with literary stuff, we have the internet, so I can get real poetry critics' opinion of what this means. Because look at those lines. He says, April is the cruelest month. And then he talks about lilacs. You know, what's so cruel about lilacs? And in general, what's so cruel about spring? Spring is renewal. Spring is traditionally something that we look forward to, especially up here. So this is from one commentary on this first few lines. At the time of writing, Eliot was suffering from an acute state of nerves, and it could well be that change was something he was actively trying to avoid. In other words, T.S. Eliot, who had problems with depression, looked at least in this poem, as winter as a more comforting season for him. Maybe because, you know, he'd enjoy getting outside. I don't know, but I think of a poet as being in a room writing things down, just like a mathematician is trying to solve things in their head. So when it comes to April, and you see life burgeoning, people getting out, having fun, and you're depressed, and you're inside, you might suffer just a little bit there. I know there's some tough duties in this unlocking month of March and April. You got to rake the yard, you got to clear out the gutters, you got to wash the windows. So there's a lot of chores that you have to do getting ready for the summertime and spring. And April teases us a little bit too. Like Thursday was gorgeous, 78, sunny, everyone out in shirt sleeves. I walk around the campus, a lot of shorts. And then Friday evening, wow, what a change. It was 40 degrees when I walked off the tennis court with winds of like 15 to 20 miles an hour. It was just brutal. So I think what we're going to talk about is change in ourselves, and maybe a reluctance to change because we're used to doing things that we've always done. It's just more comfortable that way. I think we could do a whole program on T.S. Eliot and the poem. I'll just share with you just a couple of things that I discovered in research. The original title, the working title of The Wasteland was He'd Do the Police in Different Voices. Anyone heard that quote before? I hadn't. But it comes from a Charles Dickens book called Our Mutual Friend, and it's voiced by a character in that book. And to me, it's so, they of course, T.S. Eliot got rid of that title and replaced it with the Wasteland. But in the original draft, that was the title, and it's indicative to me of how poets and writers sometimes put little puzzles into their works, so you have to try to figure out what are they meaning by that, you know. And of course those opening lines is a puzzle, you know. Why is April the cruelest month? What do they mean? And so I I appreciate that, but it makes it so that the work is unattainable for me unless I have a reference book. Besides, James Joyce's Ulysses is the same thing. I started reading that, but it's just impossible unless you know all the little inferences. And T.S. Eliot, he knew Latin, Greek, Sanskrit. The first part of that poem has a little German in it. And you're expected to know all this stuff to understand the poem. So the challenge to the poetry committee group is, hey, take on The Wasteland and give us a program next year sometime explaining that. I'm going to continue on with the program, but just one more observation about T.S. Eliot. He was born in a tradition of Unitarianism. His grandfather, William Greenleaf Eliot, was a big nabob in Unitarianism in Boston. They called him the Boston Brahmins. And he moved out to St. Louis, the grandfather, moved out to St. Louis to start a Unitarian church. This is like in the mid-19th century. That's Eliot's grandfather. And so as a grandson, he was steeped in Unitarianism, all the values that we have, the liberal religion that we have. He ended up going to Harvard because that's where his family came from, and then over to Cambridge to study. They had enough money that he could go to Paris and study too. But he ended up converting from Unitarianism to the Anglican Church, Episcopalian Church here. It's sort of interesting. We talk about Catholics and other religious traditions that people find Unitarianism coming here. But we don't talk about Unitarians going to other religions. Because he was depressed and his wife was, in some sense, suffering from, what they call mental instability or insanity, actually. She was institutionalized. He had a tough time dealing with his life with the Unitarian faith. And he found comfort in going to the Anglican Church. He became involved and a defender of that traditional Catholic Anglican religion. So I thought that was interesting. That would be another service that we could do. People that go from Unitarianism to other religions. By the way, Kurt Vonnegut, if you had to label him with a religion, it would be Unitarianism also. He was a part-timer, but we claim those part-timers all the time. All right, let's read the chalice lighting. We come to this time and place to rediscover the wondrous gift of free religious community, to renew our faith in the holiness, goodness, and beauty of life, to reaffirm the way of the open mind and the full heart, to rekindle the flame of memory and hope, and to reclaim the vision of an earth made fair with all her people one. David C. Pohl. Okay. So, yes. We didn't light the chalice, but we did say the chalice lighting. All right, Callan, you want to do your stuff? We have a slightly different makeup here. Thanks to Alison again. We got the plants up here by the podium. We have the asymmetrical, that's sort of artistic, the asymmetrical setup. We greet one another and then we can talk about the joy of the new setup. Okay. Now's the time for us to express our joy or concern by dropping a stone in the water and stepping up to the mic. Yeah, there is water.
I'll share joy. Have been for quite a while been very interested in renewing and establishing our religious education program at UU. I'm happy to say that we have a cohort of about 6 people who are very interested in getting something going here, and we're going to start meeting 7 people. And we're going to start meeting in May to get that organized. So that's an exciting next step, unlocking for the organization.
Another sort of joy and concern, I am the newsletter editor, as you probably know, and I think probably I'm the only one that reads the newsletter as carefully as I wish everybody would. I work very hard to get it looking good, but this last week, after I looked at it and saved it and scheduled it for sending out, when it came out on Thursday morning, there was a strange word in the top of the newsletter before Sunday services. Now, everybody can go back and look and say, well, I didn't see that, but I see it now. That really frustrates me because I did not put that word in the newsletter. And MailChimp could not help me explain what happened. So it's a mystery. So the word is starting. Starting. I have no idea where that came from, but I'm considering it a sign that something good is starting, and somewhere in the universe, someone is telling us that in our newsletter. So,
Yeah, maybe that's a sign. Could we all say to Anne, that's okay that word, because she's been worried about this all 2 days now since the newsletter. So all together now, that's okay, Anne. We know it's not your fault. Okay. We have maybe 30,000 new members for this society out in the back corner there. The bees were installed on Friday, and I hope they survive the cool night. They huddle up together and tense their wing muscles to keep warm. Okay, and circulate around so that the cold ones on the outside get closer to the queen, who's right in the center of that ball. But
have any bees that have overwintered?
a long time ago, yes. It's difficult. Yeah. Anyway, if you're allergic to bee stings, don't go over there in that far corner. But if you do, we have some medication here at the podium. Maybe we'll put that in the kitchen, Alison, so that people can access it. Yes? Well, I am. Okay. Yeah. But they don't need much keeping. Just let them alone.
Thursday, I had a concert.
All right, I'm going to grab 2. I'll start with the concern. Obviously, there were the storms that came through Wisconsin, Minnesota, other places. We saw a few different places get hit pretty hard. So for me, just kind of keeping people who were affected by those storms in our thoughts as we go forward. And then I'll do a little joy. My son is 7 months today, so yay. Just really fun to watch him grow and see the world, and now that the weather's getting nice, just having him go outside. He loves birds and trees, so really excited just to, keep seeing him explore the world.
Okay, one final big rock for all those joys and concerns left unspoken. Okay, that's my half, Allison. You're on right now.
Oh, really? You're all the slides. Those were just things you were going to say.
Well, you can do what I did and lead through those slides. So here's a pitch for one book anyway. I got this from interlibrary loan to River Falls Public Library. Palm Sunday, Kurt Vonnegut, just a collection of essays. And in one of those essays, you'll see the words that Allison's going to lead off the discussion with.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Don. Okay, so we heard Kurt Vonnegut thinks there should be basically 6 seasons, not 4. Thinking about the 12 months of the year in terms of 6 seasons, not 4. So we have winter. Instead of going straight to spring, we go through an unlocking phase. So for many of us who live in the place with 4 seasons, March and April, they're mostly kind of downers. You know, it's gross outside. It's not fun. They're mostly about disappointment. After suffering through the cold and the darkness of winter, we expect spring to start like that, and it doesn't in March and April. In some places it does. In some places, you look at Japan, you look at Washington, D.C., and the blossoms and everything, but not here, not here. It just doesn't happen. We expect flowers and warmth, but instead, what do we usually get? Just mud and more mud. What if we got March and April all wrong? What if we thought about this completely differently? What if those 2 months are not about blooming, but noticing what wants to bloom? Taking pause and just reflecting on what wants to happen. What if they were about celebrating the flowers bursting through the soil? But what if they're not about celebrating the flowers bursting through the soil, but about trying to support the seeds? What's under the ground, and how do we support the seeds stirring beneath the surface? One sort of optional thing you might do is to realize that there are 6 seasons instead of 4, and think about the year that way. The poetry of 4 seasons is all wrong for this part of the planet, and this may explain why we are so depressed so much of the time. Are we? A lot of people are. Yeah, a lot of people are. I mean, spring doesn't feel like spring a lot of the time, and November is all wrong for autumn, and so on. So here's the truth about the seasons. Spring is May and June. What could be springier than May and June? That's when things really start to come alive. Summer is July and August, really hot, right? Autumn is September and October. See the pumpkins, we see the fall colors in October, smell those burning leaves. Next comes the season called locking. November and December aren't winter, they're locking. Things are kind of closing down. Next come winter, January and February, they're really cold. So what comes next? Not spring, but unlocking comes next. What else could cruel March and only slightly less cruel April be, except the season of unlocking? March and April are not spring. They are unlocking. So what we're going to talk about today is unlocking. What's awakening? And these are the questions we're going to discuss with your friends and neighbors. What is awakening in your life? What's on the edge? What's awakening? What in me wants to unfold? And what's your seed? What's in there? What needs unlocked? What needs to be unlocked in my life so possibility can emerge? And thinking consciously about unlocking. What would that look like? So what are some examples about? Since Don and I talked about this, I was doing some self-reflection on unlocking and what would that look like. And it would be different for everyone, so don't hold this as a bias in your head. But when I thought about it for myself, I thought about getting ready to unlock on something. I have to first kind of pause and look at capacity. Look at capacity. How can I unlock to become, to be this when, do you ever feel like your hard drive is full? And your hard drive is just full. It's full. So how do I how do I consciously create capacity in my physical space, in my emotional space, in my mental space to take on something new that I want to grow? What would that look like? So capacity. And number 2 is skills. Do I need to unlock a set of skills? Maybe I have them and they're buried like seeds, but do I need to unlock to let those skills come forward? Do I need to go learn some things? Do I need to add to my capacity, my circle of capacity, in order to be able to unlock to do something? So you have that capacity, skills, and then the third thing I thought of was attitude. How do I bring the attitude of basically curiosity and a willingness to learn, to add something new, to unlock. And for me, so just in my thinking was I really need to think about those 3 things if I'm going to unlock. And of course, you guys all know I was elected mayor a few weeks ago, and so I've been doing a lot of thinking about that in terms of capacity, skills, attitude. How do I step in to become this? And what do I need to do? What's the work I need to do to unlock to do that? So I can approach that spring, as it will. So thinking about what's awakening in your life? What's awakening? Is it the next step in life? Are you thinking about a new adventure? Do you want to become, what's on the horizon for you? What's awakening? What's happening in your life? What in you wants to unfold? What have you been keeping under the dirt as a seed that really wants to blossom? I think of, Wendy, what you're doing with your newsletter and what you want to blossom of being an influencer. And this path didn't work, but this path might. And how are you unlocking that? What wants to unfold? And what needs to be unlocked? What needs to be unlocked in my life so possibility can emerge? A little aside here, next Sunday, Indivisible is sponsoring an educational activity here at UUSRF. It's going to be about spring cleaning and bringing order to your physical life. And I'm going to be helping to teach that, but that can be what needs to be unlocked in your life, is bringing order and structure, cleaning out your basement, cleaning out your shed. A lot of your physical possessions get in the way of you living the life you want to be living. And how do you unlock that and create a better future for yourself? So, other thoughts anybody wants to add to that before we break into kind of little groups and talk about unlocking? Anne's really excited about this. You know that? Oh. Any other thoughts? Anybody wants to share? Aiden has the mic. Okay. Tina, thoughts? No? Okay. All right. Well, why don't we break into... Oh, Bob.
Sometimes use a very brief prayer. I say, benevolent energies around and available to me now, help me to release any energies within me that are no longer in my good interest at this time. And there's a whole lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah, how do you just set something aside, get it out of there, so that you have that capacity to unlock? Okay. All right, why don't you break into groups of 3 or 4 and have a little chat? We'll leave these questions up on the overhead and do a little talking about that. How many minutes? What do you think? Maybe 7 minutes. How about till 1:15? Okay, are we ready to come back together and have a little dialogue about our thoughts on this? Anybody want to share what they talked about in conversation about what's awakening in your life, what in you wants to unfold, what needs to be unlocked in my life so possibility can emerge? Any thoughts? I know right down here we had a nice little conversation with things that these young minds are thinking about. What's awakening? So Aiden, you want to start with what's awakening in your mind, in your life?
Sure. I'm more thinking towards basically finding a way to think at a higher level and turning complex problems into simple solutions. So, for example, I'm trying to develop a game, and it has a ton of large pieces, and the idea is that you have to turn that into a large sequence of steps that individually can be tackled and are individually simple problems.
Mm-hmm. So the thing unlocking, when you think about unlocking, it's that hesitation, maybe?
I wouldn't say hesitation, but more so finding a way to think at an even higher cognitive level.
Okay. All right. Yeah, when you find the answer to that, share it. Anne will put it in the newsletter that we'll all read, right? We'll unlock that baby. All right. And Lily has some exciting ideas on her mind, too.
So I guess something that is awakening in my life is trying to learn sign language and maybe art too. And what's unfolding is probably trying to learn it in my head. And probably what needs to be unlocking is probably the part of it where I have to figure out how I learn it and how I figure out the motions for the words.
Unlocking that curiosity, taking the next step. How do you get involved in sign language, in learning sign language? And it's an idea in your head now, and how do you unlock it? Yeah, I think you can. I think you will. Maybe we'll have a service in sign language. All right. Callan, do you have some thoughts? You guys have to go first so the older people aren't afraid. They have to unlock that fear.
I already said that I didn't really know, but I was thinking we were talking about a little bit about Minecraft and Oregon Trail, and I was thinking maybe I can use some things that I learned in Minecraft to use outside of just gaming.
Of gaming, right.
Yeah.
Right. So for those in the audience who aren't completely familiar, Oregon Trail was a video game that was in the 80s, 90s, and some of you maybe played it. And now the modern version of that basically is Minecraft. But there's a lot of educational components. And so what you're thinking about unlocking is how do you transfer learnings from these video games into the real world? What does it look like in the real world to imagine the possibilities of transfer? Interesting. And unlocking the developing your skills and your attitude to actually do that, right? To unlock, water those seeds. Don't bury them under the ground, Callan. All right. Okay, others? Callan, you want to share the mic around? Bob?
One of the biggest locks that we face is the lock of fear. Fear stops us from connecting with other people and connecting with our own inner wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Fear can hold us in one place. Ideas? Don?
So along the lines of what Lily said about sign language, I guess I could try to learn Spanish for the fifth time. So what awakened in my life was helping to transport some Ecuadorians around to their school and job that Wendy, thank you Wendy for organizing that. And I want to unfold some sort of Spanish communication aptitude so that I can speak with them in their own language. Also, Ann and I are going to take a trip to Spain in October. And so if I do unlock at least a rudimentary knowledge of conversing in Spanish, who knows what possibilities will arise on that trip. I
Yeah.
also having trouble unlocking my body these days, so got to work on that.
For sure, for sure. Other thoughts you want to share about unlocking?
We actually have some online, Allison, if you'd like to hear one of those.
We do. That'd be great.
We Are All says, I want to unlock the strengths of my different communities and affect the vision that I have for the future, away from the masks of an increasingly inhuman, profit-driven society in ways we have not achieved before. As Reverend Ted said the other week, don't let your comfort zone become a prison. So be it. What if, and blessed be.
There you go. Could people hear that? Okay. Great. Thank you. Other thoughts? Unlocking.
I have a pretty literal unlocking, and I have been asked to do this, and I would like to do this, and that is make a collection of my poems. But my computer changed all the line endings, and I don't know how to make it go back. And so it means hours of going through each one and figuring it out. And I know if I knew more, I could solve my problem. So that's a very basic, simple unlocking, very literal.
Unlocking your technological capabilities. Yeah, have you Googled it?
Right. I have not. No, that's a good idea.
Is how do we get to competence? I actually appointed one of my children yesterday technology power of attorney. Wendy?
Well, the thing that came forward for me is that a recognition of a recurring behavioral pattern that, although it seems to be helpful in the moment and helps a lot of other people, there are missed opportunities for then being fulfilled in other ways. And so there's a self-examination that has to go on in order to be aware of what is awakening my life and what wants to unfold.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Anne, you look like you want to say more about that. Okay, Savannah.
Just in navigating my inflammatory disorders and trying to figure out my purpose, I've been kind of piqued with interest with the seminary for UU, specifically for like public teaching. So I'm very intrigued, and just this whole service has been eye-opening that maybe that's the direction I should go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see something unfolding here at your house. We're going to have sign language, seminary, new video games. Who knows what's in store for Callan? Transition of knowledge from video games. I always keep thinking that, kids are playing all these video games. There's got to be some goodness in there. They're learning something. Right? We learned from Disney movies. Yes. Yes. Other thoughts? I would ask too then, are there things that we could do as a spiritual community to help with help with individuals who are members here, unlocking the capacity and the potential in their lives, unlocking the things that they want to do and become? And can we influence the community? Can we as a group help to unlock the potential of our community? What does that look like? We are doing that in many ways. The work that this organization and members of this organization are doing with the immigrants in our community is unlocking love, basically, in our community, and deepening that. But what else could we unlock? Unlock so possibility could emerge. What in us as a society wants to unfold? And what's awakening? Maureen?
I feel like we want to become more involved in the community, and our starting point is that we have this location that is in some ways inconvenient because it's not central, but in other ways it's great because it is not central. It's out here. We have all this land. We have this good space. And so you said Indivisible is having something here.
Next Sunday.
And the more we can host and encourage and support just with our location and with our facilities, I think that's a possibility that won't take a lot of capacity out of work that we're already doing.
And become that cornerstone in the community, and a great spot and advocates for social justice.
Right, part of our mission.
So what can we unfold? What needs to unfold? And what do we commit ourselves to unfolding? And think about the possibilities. Bob?
Well, we can unlock a more direct connection with that spiritual advice source, which we might trust. It might be your own internal wisdom, or maybe tuning into a favorite spiritual advisor. Or it might be connecting with the UUMystics.org, one of the UU organizations online that talks about spiritual unlocking.
Another way to think about it is moving from defense to offense, kind of, to moving to from reactive, instead of being reactive, to say proactive. What is it I really want to spend my time doing? I spend all my time doing all my energy, doing all these things, but if I had a blank chalkboard and I said, what are the really, really important things that I want to do, and how do I focus on those and say, okay, I'm going to park this over here. Thinking about it that way. And then that can unlock your potential, but also your capacity, and always increasing your skill set and getting up every morning. And I think what you're talking about, Bob, is that attitude, and that how do you develop that and connect with your spiritual source of energy and focus to do what you want to do. Any other thoughts? You want to share, Don?
Well, reading that book by Kurt Vonnegut, his advice for religion is number one objective is to establish community so that people don't feel lonesome, they don't feel bored. Community, he thought, was the number one goal of a religion. So I'd like to see more use of the space as performance, musical groups, play groups. We have the community theater out here rehearsing, but they're not giving a play out here, largely because we don't have an alcohol license. But there must be ways. I remember when I was in college, people went to coffee houses in basements of churches to hear acoustic guitar, that kind of thing. So if we can think as a group to anything that builds community in in the River Falls area
Exactly.
would be a plus.
Exactly. And how do we all use our positions and our influence to continually build community with the end game of greater social justice for all? Okay. Other comments? All right. Okay. We'll move forward. Okay. I was supposed to show this slide too, and I forgot. So where do you need to loosen? So when you're getting started looking at this, which you already did, but think about this as you leave today. Yeah, where do you need to loosen, to soften, or crack open a closed door so that what is stirring inside of you has room to grow? What do you need to crack open? Just give it a rest. All right. Okay. So we'll move on to announcements. On the 25th, we're going to have Astrophysics and God, presentation by Gabriel Johnson. If you don't know Gabriel Johnson, he's a local young man, Patrice Veit's son. And then on May 3rd, our own Maureen Ash is going to talk about, am I American? Do I stay American? Do I stay American? Maureen has participated in a reading group at the Methodist Church, right, about do I stay Christian? And she's transferring that thinking to do I stay American? So it should be very interesting. May 3rd is also New Member Sunday, and Ann Leake is going to lead us in a celebration of people who have decided to sign on as new members. That's an important thing for us because our membership count is how we determine a quorum for May 10th, which is our annual meeting, and have enough people voting to elect new people to the board of directors and also approve our budget for the year. So May 10th is the annual meeting. May 3rd, Poetry Group is also meeting. And then on May 17th, we're going to have an annual Paula Luger Memorial Service and Potluck. Paula Luger, for some of you who might not know her, was a member of this church organization, a member of the board of directors, longtime member, and she used to run a forum, a conversational forum on several Sundays. So we decided in memory of her, we would do a forum, and it's going to be around the reading of the book, The Serviceberry. Yeah? Yep.
Make an announcement. I do have books available to borrow now. I have 10 books, but most of this book is also online. It was originally written by her as a big essay, and people appreciated it so much that they encouraged her to expand on it a little bit, and that's what the book came from. So if you'd like to borrow a physical book, I have them. If you're a person who can use the internet and computers and would be comfortable accessing this essay online, she also reads it. You can listen to her read it, it's beautiful. I've got that information, so see me after the service if you're interested. The newsletter has all this information as well as the link to the essay that this book came from. So I have the discussion questions, everything set, because the discussion now is a month away.
And May 17th is also going to be a potluck and a discussion of this book. Okay. All right. As always, there's a little basket in the back for support. We appreciate your presence here today and any contribution you make to the organization. We appreciate everything that everybody does around here. The garden, the cleaning, the helping, making everything work. Bringing treats today, I think, who brought treats? Tina brought treats. Thanks so much. Anything you want to say about the treats? Other than they're Callan approved? In the kitchen. Please join us. All right. Then we will join hands for our closing words.